Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Luke St. Martin, Eric H526, the two best moderators in all of YouTube. Thank you very much for being amazing moderators, Luke and Eric. And to my super chat, thank you so very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, you give me every incentive to rock these live streams. Thank you very, very much. I couldn't do these live streams without your support. And can I just tell you how the first day, I'm not a Republican, okay? But I can tell you I'm supporting President Trump. He's a great president. Reversing U.S. foreign policy, addressing the trade imbalance with China. Two things that Bernie Sanders said he was going to do. Signed prison reform legislation, signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism, which is running rampant on college campuses. He's done great things in terms of foreign policy. First president to step foot in North Korea and begin serious détente between North and South Korea. President Trump is a great president. He is also a lot more empathetic than Democrats like to portray him. This Republican, the first day of the Republican convention, ladies and gentlemen, was an absolute success. Now, it's not like I'm saying this from the vantage point that I care about the Republican Party. I care about President Trump. I'm never going to vote for a person like Marco Rubio or Jeff Flake or Mitt Romney. And by the way, every single time you get, Jeff Flake is voting for Democrats, Clinton will eventually be the nominee. You watch. She's the superior candidate this year. They are going to have to switch to Clinton if they have any hope. Otherwise, President Trump wins he decimates Biden. It was night and day. It was night and day. But I'm voting for President Trump. The message of the day one was positivity, energy. People were happy. They were happy and positive, and it wasn't like the first day. It wasn't like the Democratic convention. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. Oh my God, everything's horrible. It wasn't that. It wasn't, Trump is cruel, and it wasn't, Biden. They're hiding Biden in the basement for 4 days. It was a convention that resonated with Trump's supporters, with 63 million people. The media and Democrats forget that 63 million people voted for President Trump. He might win Minnesota this year, ladies and gentlemen. He might win Minnesota. He wins Minnesota, everything stays the same. He can lose Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. You can go to 270 to win. This is important. Minnesota hasn't voted for a Republican since what? The 80s. Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin hadn't voted for a Republican in the presidential election since the 80s. Okay? Democrats have to paint Trump as a racist because otherwise people would ask, simple questions like, wait a second, why did states that voted for President Obama and Bill Clinton vote for Trump? Oh, that's right, because Democrats are god-awful. So I just find it amusing, and it's kind of hilarious too, because you have the Florida delegate. She's like, Florida, no income tax, or no state tax. Sorry, isn't there no state tax in Florida? Best beaches ever. If you want to come live here, come. It's fantastic. That's not the way Democrats. That's not the way the Democrats. The roll call for the Democratic Party is, we're voting for Biden. He's a nice person. This is like Michigan. This is where the Republican Party started. Michigan, yes. We put the country on wheels. Michigan, yes. Michigan loves Trump. The feel was different. Democrats want to make patriotism, and there's merit to saying that, protest is patriotic. That's true to an extent. $1.4 billion in property damage throughout the country and 10,000 arrests is not patriotic. Or I should say, the majority of those are not an example of patriotism. But protest is patriotic, sure. But the mayhem and the chaos and Minneapolis asking for $500 million to rebuild, or Minnesota asking for $500 million to rebuild, that's not an example of, how much you love the country. So it was, you can disagree with the message from Trump and Pence, and you can say, well, I don't like President Trump, I don't like Pence. The Republicans are hypocrites. They're lying. And, Jeff Flake is voting for Democrats. And, you have the Lincoln Project. And, a lot of, you have 90 to 100 former national security officials. They're all voting Democrat. And a lot of them are Republican also. This is exactly why. President Trump won in 2016 and will win. Every Jeff Flake, every Mitt Romney, every Lincoln Project Republican, every Republican that does not want to vote for Trump is another reason to vote for President Trump. I spent 2014, 2015, 2016 writing in the Huffington Post, The Hill, Salon, and I stated endlessly that there's no difference between establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats. And we are seeing this. You had John Kasich speak at the Democratic Convention, the Zoom meeting. At least you had people clapping. At least you had President Trump speaking and Mike Pence speaking. They had a 20-minute Biden speech, and they're touching themselves in ecstasy because he was able to make it through the 20 minutes. I mean, they're not even trying. Do you understand? Because eventually, God bless her, an amazing human being, Hillary Clinton, is going to save the Democratic Party. She's the only chance they have. I swear to God, I can't win. You understand? I can't win. In 2015, I said she had no chance. I was right. But they called me spawn of Satan. Now, I'm saying the only chance that Democrats have is with Clinton, and still they say I'm nuts. You can't win. So, but it's so interesting and it's so amusing. The difference here, I took some notes when I was when I was watching. It's just so hilarious because you have Florida, no state tax, and the best beaches, and Michigan, we put the country on wheels, and you have the Iowa delegate. Oh my God, what did he say? He was saying a whole bunch of great things about President Trump. And then you have President Trump doing exactly what he should do, saying, look, we had record low unemployment prior to the pandemic. And he called it a plague. and it's a global plague, which it is. No one's blaming President Trump for a global catastrophe. No one's blaming, the Democrats are blaming Trump, but they're when they say that's a lie, all they do is lie. Trump can't. They're lying when they tell you that it's Trump's fault that Democratic-run states have the most lives lost. This is a fact. New York, New Jersey, and about 5 or 6 other Democratic-run states have the most lives lost from the pandemic. That's why when Jonathan Swan says, you wanted to talk about cases of people who actually survived. Yeah, that's why Trump wanted to talk about that. If you want to talk about percentage of population, other countries don't have de Blasio. They don't have Schumer. They don't have Pritzker. They don't have Murphy. They don't have Cuomo. So it's like, What are you, like, you're trying to compare the United States to other countries, but you're leaving out the reality that other countries don't have Democrats who run their cities into the ground. The highest unemployment rates are in Democratic-run states. And they can't look at aggregate numbers. It's always cases, because in terms of aggregate lives lost, the number of lives lost in total, Democratic states have the most. They focus on cases because they don't want you to ask what the mortality rate is. They don't want you to focus on the people who survived. So they say cases because it's an ominous word that where, people, you say, oh my God, well, cases, that person could lose their life. Well, that's true, but the mortality rate, I'll just go, there's a Business Insider article on the New York governor talking about mortality rate. I'll just leave it at that. Okay? That's why Jonathan Swan didn't want to talk about the percentage of people who survive, which we're doing very well in terms of a country. And the number of cases throughout the country have dwindled, have gone down. Okay? And the economy is slowly rebounding despite about 40% of the U.S. GDP. California and New York are close to, just combined, close to 40% of the U.S. GDP. They're both shut down. And then Biden said he would shut down, it ain't going to be Biden, it's going to be Clinton, but Biden said he would shut down the economy again. So then Democrats, they talk about the food lines, and then they say, well, we'd shut it down again. There has to be a middle ground. You don't ban alcohol because there are drunk driving accidents. You don't ban smoking because of cancer. So at a certain point, you have to allow society to function while at the same time taking as many precautions as possible. Of course, Democrats allow voters in their primaries to vote in person. But oh my God, not during the presidential election. In Illinois, Arizona, Florida, and Wisconsin, in the rain in Wisconsin. But they're going to lose this election. And I've been telling you for 4 years, they're going to lose this election. President Trump's going to win. And I was even saying that before I officially supported President Trump. I was like, yeah, this is not going to work. Because they're like, Russia. Then you have James Comey today saying, well, your campaign chairman was working with an intelligence official. He wasn't indicted on that. Nobody was ever indicted or impeached on working with a Russian intelligence official. So nice try. Nobody cares anyway. To the average American, the Cold War is over. President Obama stated that. Mitt Romney was the hawk when it came to Russia. McCain was the hawk. Guess who Putin wanted in 2008? It was President Obama. It wasn't John McCain. So, you have a convention where the enthusiasm was just it was almost hilarious and amusing in that they're like, okay, because they naturally are happy that presidents. This is the thing, when Democrats and media and people say, he's so polarizing, not to Trump supporters, we like this president. He's a great president. He's so divisive. No, he's not. The media is apoplectic. There's not a politician in the world. Only Trump, and even he takes a hit in terms of his image, but there's not a politician in the world or a human being in the world that if the entire media of the United States of America descends upon you, that you could come out smelling like roses or looking great. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. That's why, people have tried to interview me, and I'm like, just send me questions via email. And then that's it. You never hear from them again. Because I'm not going to go and talk to somebody on the phone. Because they're desperate. They're desperate to write hit pieces. And the hit pieces that people have on me, just riddled with misinformation and they try desperately to make me look bad. And that was when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. They go after, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post, they go after the left. And they go after people supporting President Trump. And it's not about left or right. It's about a very defined middle that is run by the I'm with her crowd. And they can get away with everything, and they do. Okay, Tara Reade has the most credible allegations. You can't go back in time you can't go back in time and have your mother call Larry King live. It ain't going to happen. Okay? You cannot go back in time. You can have somebody corroborate your story. Oh yeah, I told my neighbor, and my neighbor found out, and my boyfriend, I told my boyfriend. You can't go back in time into 1993. Where that tape of Tara Reade's mother would have been played everywhere. If it were Trump, oh my God, and that would have been game, set, match, because that's like that. They would have harped on that forever. But you have the same people who made a lot of money from that movement now just disregarding a legitimate claim with more corroboration than any other claim. You have Ronna McDaniel, the chairwoman of the party chair of the Republican Party. You have her upbeat, enthusiastic, passionate, happy. You have Mike Pence, passionate, happy. You have President Trump, who gave a fantastic speech, talked about the fact that we had record low unemployment, which is exactly what he needed to do. It's exactly what he needed to do. And I was saying this, I was like, you have to talk about your achievements. You have to talk about your achievements. And he did that. He talked about the achievements. He talked about the fact that our economy was doing great. You have to do that. You have to talk about the fact that the economy was fantastic. Prior to the pandemic, you got to talk about that. You got to talk about the fact that we've made trade deals that we didn't have prior to President Trump's presidency. You have to talk about the fact that he addressed the trade imbalance with China. Okay? And it's like, the number one economy in the world in 30 years will be China by far. Will be third after India. It should be China and India. And it might not even take 30 years. And then people say, well, the trade imbalance is still there. It's like, well, he's only been in office for 4 years. Okay? And still, let's see, China trade imbalance with U.S. You still have, they're like, it's still high. It's like, well, at least he's addressing the trade imbalance, okay? And the economy has been horrendous for the past 3-4 months, which is added to that imbalance. But at least he's addressing it through serious tariffs. You can say, well, that's not how to do it. That's another debate. Whether or not Democrats are right pertaining to that, I don't think they are. That's a whole other debate. At least he's addressing the trade imbalance. And he's doing exactly what a great many CEOs have wanted him to do. But see, again, he is reversing U.S. foreign policy. He's reversing U.S. foreign policy. And so, which is what had to happen. He signed prison reform legislation. We had a great economy. We had record low unemployment and record highs in the stock market. Simon Hathaway Spurlock! My dad just told me he'd vote for the first time in his life translation Trump 2020 historic landslide election. Yes, Simon! Yes! People see what's going on. Simon Hathaway Spurlock. Nobody wants... This is what media has never understood. Simon, thank you as always. Simon. Fantastic. Fantastic. People do not want the establishment Republicans who don't like Trump. They're the ones who would not engage in tariffs. They're the ones who would not do it. When Democrats say, well, the average Republican wouldn't do what Trump is doing. Yeah, that's why Trump won. That's exactly why President Trump won. That's exactly why President Trump won. And you look at it. You look at when are you going to impose? When are you going to impose some kind of leverage on an economy that will be the number one economy in 20 years by far? Tariffs will not work. China is by far going to be the number one economy. We'll be third after China and India. So when are you going to address whether it's intellectual property theft or dumping steel? When are you going to address? How would you have addressed? They would have addressed it with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have been horrendous for many reasons. But that's just one example of Trump. People do not want business as usual. Simon, thank you. That's why President Trump won in 2016. And the message from Democrats is, look, we have these Republicans, and these Republicans these Republicans don't like Trump either. These Republicans don't like Trump either. That's why he won. That's why he won. So it's interesting that right before the pandemic, we had a trade deal that we were on our way to an historic trade deal with China. But it's not just that. It's not just the fact that he's addressing the trade imbalance. And you're not going to immediately, because Democrats are like, you see, it hasn't worked. It's like, these are short-term tactics. Tariffs are short-term tactics. And you're not going to immediately get what you want. The point is, you want to let the other country know that, look, before you get too big as an economy, we're going to fight back, through the tariffs. They're not a long-term tactic. They're a short-term tactic. But again, what I'm trying to say is he's doing things that Republicans wouldn't do. That's why he won. You can let's say tariffs are the wrong way to go, and Trump is wrong. But how are they addressing a huge issue? Okay, how are they addressing a huge issue? You just look at the difference. Look at and then you have my second nephew. Great convention for the first day. Exactly. You have my second nephew was a fantastic. It was a fantastic convention. for the first day. I mean, it was a great first day because it was so different from the Democratic Party convention. It was so different. So this is an interesting article. Let me just read you this here. This is from the Iowa Gazette. And let's just let me read this. Trump has taken on China for Iowa's benefit. Since when did Americans simply give in to a challenge? That's not the America that I know and love. And so, again, we're going to be the third ranked economy. So my second nephew, thank you so much. It'll be China, India, then the U.S. in about 25 years. The Trans-Pacific Partnership or tariffs aren't going to do anything. They will not care at all. And we wouldn't, if we were in their position, well, we have been in their position for a long time. But here, for too long, many of our leaders at the federal level have given international competitors like China a free pass to take advantage of hardworking Americans. Under the Obama-Biden administration, Joe failed to stand up. Oh, and by the way, President Obama lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs. Lost 300,000. That's according to factcheck.org. 300,000 manufacturing jobs in 8 years. But let's continue. Under the Obama-Biden administration, Joe Biden failed to stand up to China for actions that hurt American workers, families, farmers, and taxpayers. The Obama-Biden administration stood by silently while China ripped off American businesses, stole technological innovations, and manipulated markets and currency to their benefit. Under the leadership of President Trump, the free pass is over. The United States is finally taking on the world's biggest competitor for decades of unfair trade practices that harmed Americans and our economy. Iowans who were impacted by the trade strongly support President Trump's actions to create a more level playing field for our farmers and manufacturers. These are industries that are critical to Iowa's economy and overall well-being. While the tariffs were a significant challenge for a time, Iowans understood the necessity of the short-term pain that would result in a long-term gain in trade deals that were fair. And this patience paid off. President Trump negotiated a landmark trade deal that will significantly increase the export of American goods to China. Phase 1 of this agreement is just the start, and additional trade deals could be in the near future. Along the way, Joe Biden opposed President Trump's efforts to deliver fair trade deals for Americans. But trade and economic issues aren't the only ways that Joe Biden has let America's greatest economic competitor get away with bad behavior. For months, other governments concealed the extent. For months, this government concealed the extent of the pandemic within its borders, allowing it. President Trump took swift action and imposed travel restrictions. Joe Biden called this move xenophobic and fear-mongered for weeks while opposing the president's correct and life-saving actions. Then it goes on to talk about Joe Biden is not the president Iowans or Americans deserve, so he won't. It'll be Clinton will eventually replace. Kathy DePoy! Kathy, how are you? Thank you so very, very much. My second nephew, thank you. Kathy, thank you so very, very much, Kathy. Greatly, greatly appreciated. I hope all is well. Thank you for watching my uploads. I see you in the comment section on my uploads, and thank you so very much. Be here, Kathy, and everyone, be here. November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. November is going to be a great month. November is going to be a fantastic month. I mean, an absolutely fantastic month. And so, it's just going to be amazing. Kathy, thank you so very, very much. You look and it's like, Kathy, we are on our way to winning. And my second nephew, Simon, we're on our way to winning. And it's just a matter of time. Look, November 2nd, November 3rd, everyone should be looking forward to. Vote early. Everyone here. This is like the biggest rock concert of your life. Do not wait. Do not, wait until 1 p.m. or get to the polls early before even they open, or at least within the first hour of them opening. Kathy, thank you so very much. Simon, please do turtle.
Oh my goodness, Simon. The Democratic convention is like watching a really depressing movie and then losing your, I should say, getting even more depressed because your significant other decided to find another mate. The Republican convention is like ice cream with cherries and hot fudge. I love hot fudge. And I just want to tell you that Ronna McDaniel is a beautiful, beautiful creature.
I'm trying my best. Simon, thank you. Kathy, thank you very, very much. So, I mean, you look at ladies and gentlemen, and it's you have the same people wanting to do the same things. And they taught everything from structural racism to wealth inequality. Well, you had 8 years of President Obama. You had 8 years, and wealth inequality was... We had record low unemployment for every single demographic in the country, and President Trump was talking about this. We had record low unemployment, and then the rebuttal from AOC was, well, people are working 2 jobs. It's like, yeah, that's what record low unemployment is. People are working. This is a great thing. This is the same person who kicked out Amazon, and by their own estimates, their own studies would have given around 100,000 jobs, just direct and indirect jobs. So 25 to 40,000 from Amazon, because the headquarters was supposed to, it was going to be large enough for 40,000 people, not just 25,000 people. So they were going to send eventually 40,000 people. Then you would have had all the economic activity, but they kicked out Amazon. The unemployment rate in New York is one of the highest, it's like the second highest in the entire country. Kathy, thank you again. The unemployment rate in New York is like the second or third highest in the entire country. That, people in AOC's district and surrounding districts could have used that. Could have used all the economic activity, okay? But again, you're not going to get that. You're not going to get that from, you're not going to get Democrats to say, here, this is what we've achieved economically. People are leaving California. They're leaving New York. People are leaving California and New York. Kathy, thank you again, as always. Why are people leaving California and New York? Why are they going to Florida and Texas? Why are they leaving blue states and going to red states? And this is something I don't get. You have people leaving blue states, going to red states, and still voting blue. It's like, well, why didn't you stay? Why didn't you stay in the blue state? Oh, that's right. So, it's like, tell me something. Is there a Medicare for all bill? No Medicare for all bill. Where's that Medicare for all bill that they passed in the House? Where's the universal basic income bill? Where's anything the far left is talking about or progressives are talking about? Have they done it? So the Green Party wants all of these things. Notice how they wouldn't in a million years, all like the major like pundits that get $20 million in venture capital funding, they wouldn't in a million years join the Green Party, because then they would be Russian operatives. They'd be instantly turned into Russian operatives. And the hit pieces from Raw Story and the Daily Beast and everybody else. I mean, if you're on the left and you haven't gotten a hit piece from the Daily Beast or Raw Story or whatever, then you're not really a threat to the left. You're just playing ball. That's why there are people who've made a very, very good living. And you talk about grifting, saying vote for Clinton in 2016, and then pretending to be just really so edgy, but not edgy enough to actually get pushback and hit pieces and the PR machine working against them. So, I mean, you have this kind of CH thoughts on Dems cheat by mail. Will it work? If it's close, it could work, but it could only work if it's close in swing states. And I don't think it'll be as close as people think in swing states. It could be close, but it could be close. It depends. I mean, if it's Biden, I don't think we have anything to worry about. When it's Clinton, and it won't be Biden, it'll be Clinton. But I will have made the biggest political call of all time. Clinton could make it very close. Clinton could win if Trump supporters don't vote early. If people supporting President Trump, 63 million people are Trump supporters. Now that doesn't sound right, but it is. It doesn't sound right to the media. The media likes the phrase Trump supporters. You get this like these monsters that are deplorable, and no. Herschel Walker, one of the great, amazing Georgia Bulldog, Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I think Herschel Walker and Bo Jackson should be in the Hall of Fame just for their contributions to the NFL, pro football, and to sports in general. But Herschel Walker is one of the great running backs of all time, one of the great athletes of all time. He's also he was also an MMA, a fighter in MMA, but he supports President Trump. You have the legendary Jim Brown, a tremendous civil rights icon also. He supports President Trump. There are a great many people who support President Trump. The majority of the 63 million people, the vast majority, are wonderful, good people who simply do not want business as usual. That's it. They don't want business as usual. They don't want business as usual. That's why it's so funny. Their response to the first day is, oh, well, Jeff Flake is voting Republican. And Trump is lying. They have lied every day for 4 years regarding Trump and Russia. They never had any evidence. They never had any evidence of Trump working with Russia. Yet they kept perpetuating the myth that it could have happened, and we have to look here. And then they said, I find this very interesting. Then they said, Then they said, well, you can't investigate Biden because that's what the Russians want, and that's just trying to interfere in the election. So we're going to impeach you on that. We're going to impeach you. And now you get the Southern District still investigating President Trump. Pete Solano. Yeah, well, I'm kind of weary. Pete, thank you so very much as always. I'm weary a bit about making the analogies because that's what Democrats do all the time. It's like, oh my God. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to, Pete, you're 100% right in terms of you can't go into the election with cities being dismantled before your very eyes. So Pete, you're 100% right about you can't go into the election saying defund the police, which is what Democrats have been saying. Or if they haven't been saying it, they're giving tacit approval. It was just like when when you had numerous examples in the DNC convention of the Pledge of Allegiance. The whole point of the Pledge of Allegiance is to bring up God. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And the whole point is to bring up the fact that this country exists under God. But you remove it. They removed it. They removed it from numerous examples of the pledge being recited. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. And some people, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I remember actually reciting this growing up in an elementary school. Okay, a while back. But they were like, I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, and liberty for justice. You have numerous examples. So then they're like, then you get the people, this is a lie. Yeah, what's a lie? Yes, that's true. We don't have any proof the DNC told these people to remove the word God. Yet they did. So it's not a lie. See, this is what Democrats do. They lie. The lie through omission. Democrats have perfected the lie through omission. So they're like, we never told anyone to do anything. But there are numerous examples of the phrase under God being taken out. So then who sanctioned this? Pete Solano, thank you. Thank you, Pete. Dick Diesel! Sar de Blasio will have none of that for New York. No. Yeah, that is very thank you, Duke Diesel. Duke Diesel, thank you. They're canceling what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do is slowly they're trying to erase history just because it doesn't fit the narrative right now, because that took place under the Bush administration. And so the response, you can make it. There's so many things going on with that, and there's just a really horrendous political, the strategy that they try to implement is such a backward strategy, and everyone sees what's going on. We might not know exactly what they're thinking, but we pretty much know what's going on. Duke Diesel, thank you very much. Thank you as always for your generosity. Thank you. Larry, yeah, you know what? It's a commie cricket. Larry Whitaker, thank you. I'm gonna lower the. Let's see if you can hear a little less of it. Thank you, Larry. Thank you. You can't win. They're just So it's like, the DNC never removed God. It's like, well, there's examples of the Pledge of Allegiance without the phrase under God. How do they live in their own world where servers are for convenience and, emails are deleted because they're yoga emails, and the DNC, it was all it was fair and neutral. The primary was fair and neutral. Then, of course, W. Wasserman Schultz is forced to resign, but it's actually really a Russian plot. Duke Diesel, thank you very much. Thank you, Duke Diesel. Thank you. Robbie France. Robbie! Trump 2020, upward and onward. Exactly. Robbie, thank you very, very much. Thank you so very, very, very much. Thank you. Robbie France, thank you. Thank you, Robbie, for watching. But you have the public relations machine it's like running on fumes now. They don't have much to say other than Trump is bad. You cannot win an election on this type of negative emotion. They are so clueless about why people vote for President Trump. They're so clueless that they say, "Oh my God, this cricket is it's like working overtime." But anyway, they're so clueless that they call Trump a demagogue, but he's not a demagogue at all. He's made a couple of crude references that Democrats themselves have made over the years, and instead of focusing on the fact that nobody cared when the Democrats made these. I mean, Schumer has made similar statements. All of these establishment Democrats have made similar statements over the years, if not worse. And they continue to. Joe Biden is not just a gaffe machine. The Charlemagne the God interview, that would have tanked any other candidate. They would have absolutely crucified Bernie Sanders, eviscerated him. They would have demanded that he leave the campaign trail. I just want to tell you, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't. Could you imagine? If you have a trouble voting for me or Biden, then you ain't who you are. Oh my God, it's not about just Trump. It's about anybody to the left, Tulsi Gabbard, Bernie Sanders. Oh my God, yeah, either the Russian favorites. Where were the fact checkers when Clinton said Tulsi was Putin's favorite candidate or a favorite of the Russians? This was not only a lie. This was there was no evidence. It was a claim not only without evidence and not only a lie, but Tulsi Gabbard is a veteran. So could you imagine? Could you imagine if Bernie Sanders said Biden is a favorite of Putin? What? It can't be. We created this propaganda specifically to make Putin afraid of us. So then they would say Bernie Sanders, without evidence, claims that Biden is a favorite of Putin, when we all know that's impossible because we fabricated the whole thing. Thank you. So they don't run by the same logic. They don't run by the same logic as normal people or as logical people. I mean, you get I can't believe the lies, the lies that have been told. The lies have been told. Are you saying you believe that President Obama did not know his own Secretary of State had private servers for 4 years? Is that what you're saying? You're saying you believe Comey or you believe Loretta Lynch when each of them have a different story. One says that Comey says that he was told by Loretta Lynch, Attorney General, to call the Clinton email criminal investigation a matter. Attorney General Loretta Lynch says that she never said that. Who's lying there? You mean to tell me you don't think it's a lie that Attorney General Loretta Lynch spoke to Bill Clinton about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren? They are never suspicious when it comes to Democrats. Never. They are just never suspicious at all. So, I want to read you this. This is in February of 2019. The verdict is in. Trump's tariffs are working bigly. This is just here. U.S. manufacturing is once again. This is one of the things that President Trump was trying to focus on. Okay. This is one of the things that President Trump was trying to focus on on day one. And the verdict is in. Trump's tariffs are working bigly, by Michael Stumo. He is the CEO of the Coalition for a Prosperous America, which advocates on behalf of U.S. farmers and manufacturers. And so U.S. manufacturing is once again in the news. New data shows America's factories adding 261,000 jobs. 261,000 jobs from January 2018 to January 2019. In the State of the Union, President Trump emphasized the urgency of confronting predatory trade from countries like China. There's no doubt that American manufacturers are currently rebounding the tariffs that President Trump imposed a year ago on steel, aluminum, and solar panels. And washing machines have already created more than 11,000 new jobs. These new gigs include those in steel mills being announced by Nucor, Steel Dynamics, and others. There's also roughly a dozen companies planning new solar panel manufacturing facilities in Florida, Maryland, and Oregon. Even U.S. car companies are doing well at home. Ford's North American operations posted a $2 billion profit for the fourth quarter, while GM's North American net income topped $3 billion. Major steel consumers like Caterpillar and United Technologies have also reported strong results for 2018. So this is just, this article is a bit dated, but you can see during President Trump's administration, we had a good economy. It still wasn't enough, because then they fell back on wealth inequality. Well, it's like, people were working. Well, there was record low Black and Latino unemployment, record low national unemployment. We had record highs in the stock market because the economy was healthy. It was doing well. The stock market is not necessarily a great indicator of what's really going on in the economy, but when you have record low unemployment, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And Simon Hathaway Spurlock, HSC called Tulsi a Russian asset. Exactly. Which was, of course, a lie, and it was a claim without evidence, but you never get the apoplectic reaction. It's always like, that was just her opinion, it was just an opinion. Even U.S. car companies are doing well at home. Ford's North American operations posted a $2 billion profit in the fourth quarter, while GM's North American net income topped $3 billion. Major steel consumers like Caterpillar and United Technologies have also reported strong results for 2018. Despite this, critics of the tariff still abound, particularly among large retailers, claiming the tariffs will necessarily lead to price increases. But that's not what's happening. Prices for new cars, which contain plenty of steel, remain steady, and the price of aluminum canned beer is also rising at less than the rate of inflation. America's consumers simply aren't seeing any major price increases from the tariffs, and core inflation has remained low at 2.2%. But industrial users of steel and aluminum haven't seen price jumps either. And after a short-term increase in the summer, steel prices have actually fallen back to levels of last January and February, before the tariffs even took effect. And federal data shows the Producer Price Index rising a cumulative 2.5% in 2018, exactly the same as it did in 2017. U.S. Industrial production has continued to climb through 2018, including a 7.8% increase in one of the heaviest metal using sectors, motor vehicle, and parts and manufacturing. But the tariffs are intended to save good-paying jobs. Wall Street could have expressed concern for America's workers years ago when China's predatory behavior and outright technology theft became apparent. After all, such cheating absolutely violates free markets and free trade. and it has taken a heavy toll on U.S. industry. Strong medicine, such as tariffs, is simply a necessary recourse in hard times, and as America's manufacturing resurgence in 2018 demonstrates, it's working. Now, President Trump should follow through by raising the tariffs to 25% as originally planned to curtail cheating and spur more manufacturing growth. This is just one article. There's another article here. Contrary to popular belief, Trump's tariffs are working. That's in The Hill. Both of these articles are in The Hill. This is The Week. Trump's tariffs are working. So here, you might not like the game Trump is playing, but that doesn't mean he isn't winning. Let's see, when was this written? So this is MSN, Gordon Chang. Trump's tariffs are working. So you can look and Fox Business, Trump's tariffs are working, October 13, 2019. This is Asia expert Gordon Chang discusses phase one of the U.S. China trade talks, intellectual property theft, and agricultural products. So, that's just here. This is March 30th, 2020. Gordon G. Chang. Trump is right to ditch 5 decades of failed U.S.-China engagement policy. So, we can go on. The point, though, is that there are a great many... Climb BMX. Thank you, Climb BMX. Thank you. Thank you. Climb BMX. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, as always. Thank you. So he is addressing not only the trade imbalance, but issues like intellectual property theft. And there are many experts who agree, Gordon Chang being one of them, that President Trump is doing a wonderful job. The rebuttal to what I'm saying is not, well, others disagree. My point is that he is addressing these issues. He has addressed the problem, and he has a solution that many experts agree with. You notice how the left always, they think they have a monopoly on expert thought and opinion. And they're like, well, experts agree, and experts agree with us. What about the experts that don't? Oh, that person's a crackpot. Yeah, no, let's 10. Roll out the hit pieces. 10 hit pieces. Crackpot, loony, don't listen. He's not really an expert anymore. He was an expert, but now he's not really an expert. Don't listen to him. All of our experts agree. In fact, we have former Republicans that disagree too. That's exactly why President Trump won. Climb BMX. Climb BMX. Thank you. When you look, ladies and gentlemen, at one of the reasons Democrats will lose, they don't understand, and Climb BMX, thank you, they don't understand, nor do they want to find out why people vote for President Trump. They do not care. They don't care. And because they don't care, and because they don't want to know, they're stuck in their own fantasy world where people who vote for Trump are horrible human beings. People who vote Democrat are good, righteous, moral human beings. And they're going to lose again. And this meltdown will be not a good... It will be a frightening meltdown and also amusing. Pete Solano! H.A., you are a Raider fan and I am a Broncos fan, and we are friendly. Why can't it be the same in politics? Pete Solano, because it's enjoyable because I respect. You can respect John Elway or Terrell Davis, or you can Shannon Sharp. You can look in and you can see players that you like, even though they're rivals. I can do that, obviously. I can say, look, JFK was one of our better presidents because he didn't listen. He listened, unfortunately, with the Bay of Pigs, but then he didn't listen. His advisors were telling him to invade Cuba. So that made him one of the great presidents simply because he didn't listen to the generals and to his foreign policy experts telling him to invade Cuba. In fact, Robert McNamara and there were what was it? One of the Air Force generals were telling him to invade Cuba, and Curtis LeMay, and and Kennedy said, "Nah, I'm not going to do that." In the Cuban Missile Crisis, and had he done that, that would have ushered in World War III. So we can look at the Democrats of years past. I could even look at Bill Clinton's administration and say, okay, there are a couple things good that he did. Not definitely. Oh, thank you so very much for that one, H.A. Badman. You've been a thorn in my side, but I really appreciate that. I'm not really talking about the Oval Office. Oh, you had to bring that up, didn't you? Oh, my God. I could tell you something. There's never a time you don't bring up the Oval Office. What can I tell you? Pete Solano, I think that Democrats have nothing. They only have all they can do, all Democrats can do. The only thing they can do is focus on generating negative emotion. They can manufacture emotion. That's it. Thank you, Simon. Thank you. The only thing Democrats can do is focus on manufacturing, generating, trying to fabricate emotion. That's it. They don't have, like Trump, he doesn't care how much his voters dislike Pelosi or Biden or Clinton. He really doesn't care because he knows his voters already dislike them. Trump doesn't need the Republicans, or President Trump, I should say, does not need to generate like this level of vitriol and contempt. People voting for President Trump can't stand the Democratic Party, and they've disliked the Democratic Party to varying degrees for a while. So you're not going to, with the Democrats, it's like all they've managed to do is get the already unhinged, apoplectic, I'm with her crowd to dislike Trump more than to levels that are dangerous. Like when you're spreading a hashtag wrong Trump when Trump's brother passed away, you're a sick person. Like you're like a dangerous sick person. And that's the average I'm with her Trump or Democrat. Like, you're talking about people who you're talking about people who have such contempt for the president that the vitriol is unhealthy. They liken him to, like, moments in human history that they have no business comparing him to. They dislike his personality to the point where they call up friends and family and say, oh, I'm not, I can't talk to you anymore. President Trump does not deserve the vitriol. Even if you didn't like his personality, he didn't get us into a war. He didn't tank the economy. Pandemic's not his fault. The current economic crisis is not his fault. He wanted to open up the economy for a long time. Democrats say, oh, no, you can't do that. Then they say, oh, look at Trump's economy. It's like, no, you're the ones who... and then you have Biden. Well, the scientists tell me. It's like, the scientists are going to give you their opinion. You have to then do what's right for the country in general. If you're going to have that mentality, then ban cigarettes, ban alcohol, ban fast food. Legislate every part of the life of every single American. Legislate every single element of a person's life in this country. So, Christ light! Good day from Australia. There are two types of people: those that quit and those that never give up, like H.A. and Trump. She's running. Exactly, Christ light. Christ light. I don't know if you feel it, but I feel it. It's like from California to Australia. I feel this energy. Oh, can you feel it? I feel it too. Oh, Christ light. Thank you. I love your name, and God bless the people of Australia. And I just want to give a big shout out to Alexander Downer. Thank you. Good diplomat, Alexander Downer. Good Australian diplomat. Wink, wink. I feel something. I feel big booty. Hello. I feel something. I feel a sense. It's something's going on. Something's going on. Eric H526, I don't know what I would do without you or Luke. Thank you. So wait, hold on one second. Oh, I missed. Okay, so Bill Shepard. Democrats are running on sulfur and pop. I like. KFC is good too, and Popeyes, yeah. Eric H526, well, thank you, and Bill Shepard, thank you. I didn't see that. I apologize, Bill Shepard, thank you. I don't know. I feel something going on. Like they can't. This charade. I'm telling you, I'm the only person in the entire internet that has been calling this out for the past 4 years, and I just feel something. It doesn't have to be, God forbid, a calamity. I'm not like the loony bins who shared wrong Trump hashtag. It just has to be. It could be a meeting from Tom Perez saying, "Look, you know what? Our internal polling says that Biden cannot win, and only Hillary Clinton can add that energy." Think about this, Tom Perez of the DNC. Who sacrificed for our sins? Who has done more for this country than Madam Secretary Hillary Clinton, the best, the most beautiful and amazing human being, a good human being, a good person like Biden. The best is when they say Biden, I just want to touch you with my paws. Well, thank you, Biden. Let me take a shower now for 10 hours. Wipe off your nasty, just whatever it is, all over me. But there's something going on. Only Clinton can save the Democratic Party and make this close. Like Pete Solano, I want the AFC champ and the NFC champ. We already have the NFC champ. It's Team Trump. The AFC, or we have the AFC champ. Sorry, Team Trump. The NFC. Biden is not the team that can take it all the way. Clinton has the gravitas. And she'll be the nominee, but Hillary Clinton has the gravitas. And I was telling people she couldn't win in 2015. Nobody listened to me. I'm telling people the only chance they have, which they won't win, even with Clinton, the only chance they have is Clinton. And still people, you can't win. I can't win. I can't win. But she has the gravitas. She has the support, the grassroots support. She has greater support among Black and Latino voters. And Bill and Hillary are the most important Democrats within the Democratic Party because it's a political machine. She will be on that debate stage. 4 years of Russia did it. Oh my God, the crickets finally ended. These crickets and their extracurricular activities. You watch, ladies and gentlemen, Christ Light, I feel it. I feel something. I don't know what it is, but I do feel it and I like it. Angela Goodwin! What will the Republicans for Biden say when Angela, they'll say, oh, good. It's crickets for Trump. Simon, crickets for Trump, yes. They'll say, oh, fantastic. They'll say fantastic. No, there are no Biden supporters. This is a reality of I was a Democrat my whole life. Their support, there's far more support for Tulsi Gabbard within the Democratic Party than there is for Biden. And here's why I say this. The only support Biden has, the only reason he won the primary is that his name is not Bernie Sanders or Trump, but there's far more support for Tulsi Gabbard, or obviously a lot more support for Bernie Sanders, because the Democrats that support Tulsi Gabbard, there aren't as many as there are that support Bernie Sanders, but at least there's like a grassroots movement. Like they are passionate people who love Tulsi Gabbard's foreign policy because she's against regime changes. There are passionate Bernie supporters because they think that Bernie cares about Medicare for all, which of course that's the biggest joke of all time. He doesn't care because he's supporting somebody who would literally veto a Medicare for all bill. But there are passionate people. The word passionate in Biden has not been never in a sentence. That's never been in a sentence. There are no Biden. I am the only person in the entire internet that has Biden gear. And I did this to prove a point. And still nobody really understands the point. But I am the only person. Have you seen anyone wear a No Malarkey shirt? Only me. I'm the only person who's worn a No Malarkey shirt. Okay? This is to highlight a point. Now, the Pumas, the party unity my behind people, they run the Hillary Clinton voter runs the Democratic Party. And she's going to run again in 2024. And I'm going to be the biggest Clinton supporter in the universe then also, aside from voting for, I don't know what's going to happen. President Trump has to find and then he goes 12 years. He made a reference to 12 years again. He has to, there has to be like, I'm telling you something. President Trump has to, once he gets reelected, he has to groom or pass the baton or elevate somebody who can champion his populist message, which was very similar to Bernie Sanders' populist message, but of 2016. 2020, he became an internet creation. They retweeted him to a loss in 2020, and they'll retweet President Trump to 8 years. So Angela Goodwin, they probably, who knows? Oh, here we go again with the. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't think that I don't think they'll skip a beat. I think they'll be just fine. The Republicans voting for, saying they're going to vote for Biden. There are no Biden. There is no Biden voter. Nobody says I'm voting for Biden because of who he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. It's buffering again. William R. Abrams! William and Mr. Tiny are in the house. Yes. Say hello to Mr. Tiny for me. Hello. William R. Abrams, hello. Let's see here. So there's a really interesting headline. Republicans pitch Trump as an empathetic leader, protecting the country from Democrats. But that's how Trump supporters feel. See, they tried to, every single failed narrative of the Democratic Party, their convention was just, you can't pander to different factions within the Democratic Party and expect everyone to be happy. But with President Trump and his conventions, it's like there aren't so many different things that he's trying to convey. He's saying, I am going to do things in the same manner. I'm going to rebuild the economy, make sure that the economy works like it did. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry about the buffering. Can you hear me? Can you at least hear me, ladies and gentlemen? Let me know if you can hear. I know that there's buffering going on, but let me know if you can hear and see me. Oh, Lord. But let's read this CNN article here. Then you have, so media instantly panned GOP convention headlined by Trump and his son. In terms of the media applying roughly the same standards to each convention, it wasn't close. About an hour into the first night of the virtual proceedings, the New York Times ran this banner headline: GOP pushes falsehoods and fear at convention. It's like, you didn't push falsehoods at the DNC convention. Oh, the pandemic is Trump's fault. He's a cruel and heartless leader. They claimed without evidence he's cruel and heartless. They don't quote his, they never quote, contrary to popular belief, he has speechwriters and they write, his speeches are beautiful speeches, same type things that every other president says, and they never quote the lofty, beautiful, idealistic things that he talks about that offer hope or condolences or empathy. They only focus on gotcha question and answers, edited little moments from interviews with Jonathan Swan. So it's like, thank you, everybody. So it's like, Here, some of the speakers sounded very much like President Trump, aiming to rouse the base, but make little to no effort to appeal to independent. While Democrats certainly hailed Biden as a good, decent man, conservative activist Charlie Kirk set the tone at the outset by calling Trump the bodyguard of Western civilization, who was preserving America against those who would eliminate everything we love. Well, that is not necessarily like that's a bit of hyperbole, but they do want to do away with tenets of U.S. history. They're proud of this. So, but see, that's what the Democratic Party does. That's why they had that song. There's something happened in here. It's like they had to convey an ominous tone while at the same time trying to reach out in some bizarre patriotic manner, or bizarre manner that evoked some semblance of patriotism. The Zoom meeting nomination, that's as meaningful as Debbie Wasserman Schultz saying the primary is fair and neutral. Clinton is going to be on that debate stage. You watch, ladies and gentlemen. She's the only chance they have. She's the only chance they have. She is by far the superior candidate. I will eventually have made the biggest political call of all time. Watch. Either way, President Trump's going to win, so that's a pretty good call too. But in short, Don followed his father's lead in painting the Democratic nominee as the captive of far more radical elements than his record would suggest. Whatever the criticisms of the first night, the president is carrying the load, and we'll be seeing a lot more of him this week. One thing that people don't give President Trump credit for, Angela Goodwin. I do not know. Angela, I don't know. One thing they don't give President Trump credit for, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe. One thing they don't give President Trump credit for is they don't give him credit for having an approval rating above 40 with the media every single day. And then you have the Southern District of New York investigating him, but I thought you can't investigate candidates before the election. So you can't get William Barr to investigate, but you can certainly get the Southern District of New York, a direct extension of the Democratic Party. So William Barr can't investigate Trump's direct political rivals, but the Southern District of New York can investigate their direct political rival and Trump. I don't understand this. The double standard and the hypocrisy is unbelievable. But here, Republicans pitch Trump as empathetic leader trying to protect the country from Democrats on a convention. But even Democrats are frightened of Democrats. Notice how the average person supporting President Trump, of every background, looks at the convention and says, yeah, it's pretty good. Or they liked it. The left mocked the Democratic convention. They couldn't stand the Democratic convention. William Abrams, Mr. Tiny wants to be on your wall of fame. Oh, William Abrams, I already have something that I call Mr. Tiny. But we'll leave it at that. I'll get your mind out of the gutter. Thank you again, Mr. Tiny. William R. Abrams, thank you. Though the night was aimed at firing up Trump's base with attacks,
on what was framed as Biden's socialist agenda and dark portrayals of the Democratic protesters as left-wing. Okay, the GOP also deployed two of its most compelling speakers, Nikki Haley and Senator Tim Scott, to argue that Trump's policies have lit up a diverse array of American families. It's true, and that Democrats have gone too far with their claims of, okay, if it's funny. Democrats claim systemic racism. George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis. Eric Garner was murdered in New York. These are, again, blue states. And what did President Obama do when Eric Garner was murdered? Was there any emphasis on training law enforcement? Look, I love law enforcement. I respect law enforcement, but you cannot do what was done to Eric Garner and George Floyd. You cannot do it. You can't do it. So if you have a person on the ground, they're on the ground. You can't put your knee on someone's neck because they're not getting up. You already have them subdued. You've already submitted them and had them. You cannot do that. So what did President Obama's administration, who apparently I thought the Democrats were supposed to address the systemic issues. We already had, if the systemic issues were addressed, we would have learned from Eric Garner. But Democrats didn't bring that up because it wasn't politically, there was no utility there for them. There was no political utility. We already had a man who lost his life, or whose life was taken from him, with the same situation. In 2014, 6 years ago, Eric Garner in New York City, run virtually only by Democrats. Why didn't Democrats address the structural issues? How about training? Why didn't they emphasize a national strategy or implement some kind of national protocol on training and law enforcement, saying, look, if the person's on the ground, you can't put your neck or your boot on the person's neck. But Democrats didn't do that. Then they sit on the sidelines and say, peaceful, everything's peaceful. And then Minnesota, and there's even talk of Oregon voting for Trump. I'm not sure Oregon will vote for President Trump, but they're talking about it. Duke Diesel! They don't give him credit for anything, and they never will. They will never give him credit for anything. They will never give him credit for anything. Never. They will never give him credit for anything. But that's like, wealth inequality and systemic racism. Well, what did you do to address these issues? How about nothing? What did you do to address these issues when you had 8 years of President Obama? You had Eric Garner murdered in New York City, and you did nothing. And then we're supposed to listen to Democrats, and we're supposed to listen to CNN, MSNBC talk about. They always come from this vantage point. This is what I can't stand about the Democratic Party. They come from this vantage point that they're morally superior. They're the most immoral, the most unethical, immoral. The way they treat others, the way they bully and intimidate, and they start with their own side. Their only goal every day, I can tell you this because I've lived it and I know, there are people on the left, their only goal every day is to make sure that they silence or denigrate or mock or insult or demean other leftists. That is their sport. And then when you slowly break away and you're like, I don't care what you think of me, they get even more frenzied. Then the hit pieces keep going. Companies like, there's nothing. And then they give up, which is what happened to me. So, they had people who didn't like me and the hit pieces written about me. And then eventually with my behavior, I was like, I don't care what you say. I don't care because, I view you to be the biggest imbeciles on the planet. I don't even care. Not only do I not care what you think of me, I was embarrassed and humiliated that my political adversaries were such imbeciles. That's where I was at in terms of, I'm like, you know what? If I'm judged by my political adversaries, there's not much to say about me. Because the people who don't like me are
they have zero grasp of basic logic. Zero grasp. I kept saying, they're probably going to cheat Bernie Sanders again. I'll be quiet. Which they did in Iowa. But the only, Democrats derive power. They're like Freddy Krueger on Nightmare on Elm Street. They haunt the dreams of their fellow leftists. But once you realize it's a dream, how was Freddy Krueger defeated? What was it like? I don't know if it was Nightmare on Elm Street, but once you realize it's a dream, then he can't hurt you. So once you say, God, these people are all they care about is this morality fetish. They don't care about being moral, because morality would dictate that there's not just one view of looking at something. There are, some foreign policy dilemmas are more complex than one country good, one country bad, and that's it. Some things are more complex than, you retweeted a conservative. Oh, you want to ally with conservatives? I mean, they're very tribalistic. It's very much a cult. If you're on the left, it is a cult. It is really runs like a cult. When you become a Trump supporter, when you vote for President Trump, you're free to think what you want to think. Nobody cares. Trump doesn't care. They have Trump all wrong. Trump doesn't care what his supporters think, and he certainly doesn't care if people dislike or he doesn't care how much people dislike the Democratic Party. Democrats, if you don't dislike Trump enough, if you say anything that's maybe something positive, you are excommunicated and you've committed blasphemy and you're a heretic. And that's the way they think, because they've lost it. They've completely lost any sense of rational thought. So, Pete Solano, HA, what causes TD Trump derangement, and is there a cure for it? There's no cure for it. Pete, what causes TDS is simply the loss of political influence and political power. That's it. And an unhealthy obsession of Trump's personality. Because, Pete, Trump's personality is the antithesis of what Democrats want the world to be. Democrats want the world to be run by people who care about how establishment politics is done. And, well, I wouldn't mind voting for Jeff Flake and Nancy Pelosi and Jeff Flake and Max Boot and Bill Kristol and the Lincoln Project people and even Bernie Sanders. They disagree on policy, but at the end of the day, they still care about how things have always been done. Trump doesn't care. He's like, yeah, nah, whatever. Oh, and by the way, Comey, he set me up. What? You think our beloved intelligence agencies would ever do that to you? Oh my God, he's a monster. So, it's like they just, TDS is a loss, because this is the thing. You have to understand, Pete and everybody here, President Obama was, like Bill Clinton, a great campaigner, but he ran on a message of hope and change, which is what Bill Clinton ran on. But one thing that President Obama did was he symbolized a completely new paradigm of American politics where the Democratic Party would be, because media became less independent and more of more accustomed to the belief that it was either going to be President Obama or a person like Jeff Flake. There was only going to be President Obama was the best that the establishment had to offer, the absolute best, according to Democrats and media. But if Democrats were to lose, they were going to lose to somebody like George W. Bush or Mitt Romney. I mean, they certainly weren't going to lose to somebody who wanted to reverse U.S. foreign policy or tariffs with China. What? I mean, come on. Or they weren't going to lose to somebody who doesn't care about political correctness. I mean, because, Democrats, media, establishment Republicans, they've done away with, holy books or, places of worship or any type of traditional, places or things that bind us as a society or as a culture or as... I'm probably going too far there, but the media and Democrats and establishment Republicans feel that they embody what American politics should be. And Trump, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, and he tells it like it is, and they try to set him up and frame him, and they're even inept and incompetent at corruption, so he calls them out on it. And then they have to double down and say, how dare you? You worked with Russia. And nobody can explain. So, I mean, they do it to themselves. Angela Goodwin, human born, the buds of logic, but to bring to healthy bloom, we need good education. Current education is harmful like an acid rain. Yeah, I mean, there's too much of an emphasis on political correctness. I'll just leave it at political correctness. It used to be called political correctness, but there's too much of an emphasis on social media and the way a person must think. And if you don't think a certain way, you're harmful or dangerous. They use these words. It's not just hyperbole. It's like a deliberate attempt at distorting reality. So they have to redefine words because the words that already exist don't define the reality. The words that already exist define reality. They have to redefine words because they're trying to redefine reality. So Trump is a person who wears his emotions on his sleeves. He tells it like it is. He sometimes goes too far, sometimes crude, but he doesn't care what anyone thinks of him. He's probably the least racist politician we've ever had. Because when President Obama drinks Flint water, he's doing so for purely political reasons at the expense of people of color who had to drink the poisonous water and who might be convinced or might have been, and they weren't, but who could have been misinformed by President Obama drinking Flint water. Trump never drank Flint water, and he certainly didn't destroy a country like Libya. But because President Obama did it, it was okay because it was the establishment. They just want what they think. 8 years. So when people were like 22, they're now 30. When people 25, they're now 32. People got into politics. Journalists got into politics during President Obama. Like his election was like supposed to be this monumental moment where America changed forever. Then we realized after 8 years, America did not change. And foreign policy it was just as bad, if not worse. And wealth inequality was just as bad, if not worse. And you had a lot of things that took place, whether it was Flint or Eric Garner or Libya or Clinton's email servers that President Obama didn't know. I mean, you had so many lies that, I mean, if the Washington Post utilized the same standards they do to judge Trump and his lies, you'd have double the amount of lies with Clinton and President Obama. But the way they lie is interesting. They say, "Well, I didn't know." Oh, we talked about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren. Of course, you didn't do that. Nobody would believe that. Exactly, Anthony. William R. Abrams. Mr. Tiny hates the algorithm. Mr. Tiny, hello. John Mark. Yeah, they did. They sure did. They sure did. But it didn't work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Democrats failed miserably. I mean, the convention was an absolute failure. It really was. The Democratic convention was an absolute failure. The Republican convention, or I should just say Trump's convention, thank you, Eric H526 and Luke St. Martin, thank you. Trump's convention was total success. Because he doesn't have to pander to, like, he just has like 6 or 7 or 8 messages. We're going to continue to reverse U.S. foreign policy. We're going to get the economy up and running again like we did prior. We had record low unemployment. We'll expect that again. We're going to address trade issues with China. We're going to go after the same people that try to set up and frame me. And we already got Kevin Kleinsmith, so now John Durham's going to go after other corrupt people. I mean, there are 5 or 6. We're definitely going to stand by law enforcement. We're not going to do anything in the manner that we're not going to shut it down, which is what Biden would do. It's going to be Clinton eventually, but so he doesn't. He has about 7 or 8 messages. They're pretty simple messages. They're not like the Democrats were like, God, how do we convey that the country stinks, while at the same time saying we love the country? But we have to appease a big part of the left that thinks we're, doomed for, like, we're just, there's so many systemic issues from wealth inequality to racism that Democrats and Biden haven't addressed. But how do we placate like 3 or 4 or 5 different factions within the Democratic Party? So then you get that music video, which was like the worst music video of all time. And then people on the left, you have pundits like, this is when we lost. Like, yeah, I've been saying you're going to lose for 4 years. I like how there are left-leaning voices who said vote for Clinton 2016 who are just now saying, oh, yeah, Democrats are going to totally lose. Like, yeah, when did you realize this? When they impeached Trump on nonsense? Or when they were saying the sky was falling when there was record low unemployment? When did you realize this? John Mark! Botox Biden and Corolla. John Mark. If it's Biden, oh my God, for sure. But it's going to be Clinton. John Mark, thank you. Anthony Perone, stay up all night tonight. 24-hour live stream. Well, you know what? I think there'll be a 24-hour live stream. There'll be let's put it this way. There'll be an epic live stream on election night, and when Clinton takes the nomination. I'm telling you, Christ light, everyone here, I feel something. I feel something. Whenever Biden or Bill Clinton say they feel something, you always have to watch out. But I feel something. And I don't trust the Democratic Party as far as I could throw them. They know that the only chance they have is with Clinton. She's a superior candidate. She's a good human being. She's a fantastic human being. Everything I said about the servers and the top secret intel and hiding information, I take it all back. She's a great human being, and we're just waiting. Do the right thing. Biden doesn't even want to be president. I mean, have you ever seen a bigger charade? I look at this man and I say he is begging for Tom Perez to just hold a meeting and saying, look, we need a new nominee, which they can do. I've already explained they can do that. In on time, no matter who the Dems go with, Hillary or Joe, they're going into chaos. They reap what they sow. I agree with you on that. Ed on time. I agree with you on that. What's going on right now is not sustainable because there are no factions. There are going to be over 63 million people who vote for President Trump, or well over 60 million people. So he wins with 63 or 64, 62. He'll win. They might get the popular vote only because of California. Yeah, but the popular vote between California and New York is probably going to be, significantly greater than it was in 2016. Clinton got like 4 million votes from California. So 4 million more votes, but I'm telling you, people, can I tell you something? I've given up on, because when I was on the left, I'm like, gosh, if I just point out the corruption, the actual corruption, not Trump working with Russia, which never happened. They fabricated everything. And they're like, oh, the Senate confirmed. Senate didn't confirm anything. The Senate, it's like confirming that Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player of all time. The Senate confirmed an opinion. That's it. Nobody was ever indicted or impeached on working with Russia. Then they make the most benign and vague statements. Well, he accepted help. What was he supposed to do? Like Bernie Sanders? Russia, if you're listening, I don't want your help, okay? When you told me that Debbie Wasserman Schultz cheated me, I didn't ask for it. You told me that Debbie Wasserman Schultz cheated me. Who asked you? I didn't ask for it. And then the big Michigas and everything. Oh, yeah, he cheated. And then the four. Okay. It would have been better had you not done anything, Russia. Now they blame me for everything for 4 years. I don't want your help, Putin. They want Trump to say that. Jay Bamhart. Jay Bamhart. Trump plays politics like NFL players on the field, going hard and knock the crap out of the obstacles, win, go home. Exactly. He's like Jay, thank you very much. He's like that, the sled, the tackling sled. He just goes in, does his work, and they're like, oh my God, how can you do that? Jay Bamhart, thank you. Bogdana Papai, hello. Thank you, Bogdana Papai. Thank you again. I hope all is well. Jay Bamhart, thank you. Thank you, Jay. Bogdana, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly like last time. Bogdana Papai. My family in Romania believes Trump is a terrible human. Their opinion changed quickly when I clarify reality, but all they hear is negative news, even in other countries. The false media has no boundaries, and I agree with you. Oh, Bogdana Popey. Okay. Tell me if this is correct. Bogdana Popey. Bogdana Popey, thank you so very, very, very much. It's unbelievable. I agree with you. It's unbelievable that the media doesn't change its tune even in other countries. It's true. It's true. Paul, hello. Thank you. Bogdana Popey, thank you. It's true. It's true. It's unbelievable, too. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for watching. And in other countries, okay, South Korea and Israel, the average person loves President Trump. Most other countries in the world, or I should say, he's popular. He has a favorable. The average person has a favorable view of President Trump. But most countries in the world, it's like, I agree with you. The media in the U.S., UK, France, it doesn't stop. The Trump derangement is like a global phenomenon. Bogdana Popeye, thank you. It's like a global phenomenon. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, as always. General D! As a Brit, I have to support UHA. What happens in the U.S. filters down through the rest of the world. I can't watch America go the same way as Europe. General D, this is the hypocrisy of everything. And I think Bogdano Popeye would agree with this. We would never, even the Democrats, well, I don't know anymore, but even the Democrats would never allow, and I'm not going to get too into it, but they would never allow a ceding such sovereignty to any regional body. I'll just leave it at that right now. But they talk. I mean, like, liberals talk a big game, but it's like they would never allow it. General D, thank you. Robber Baron, and that's where the hypocrisy is. General D, it's like you have this. That's why the affinity for NATO is because we run NATO, so it's under the premise of working with others, but it's actually just making sure others help us do what we want to do. General D, thank you. Like if the UK or France were calling the shots, we wouldn't like it. We would be like, this NATO thing really stinks. But we're calling the shots, so it's like we, under the guise of multinational organizations or alliances, Democrats and establishment Republicans say, these things are needed. Then we decide what takes place. That's why the establishment in our country is so supportive of them. Robert Barron, we're under construction, temporary inconvenience for miraculous improvement for the world. Exactly. We're under construction, temporary inconvenience for miraculous improvement for the world. Thank you, Robert Barron. Thank you. Angela Goodwin, according to my son, Hungary likes Trump. I believe Hungary too. Brazil also, I think, likes Trump. Brazil likes Trump. Hungary, Israel, South Korea. There are countries that like Trump. I think he's actually more popular in China than people think. John Mark, I predict Trump wins Minnesota. Game over. I think that he could win Minnesota, which would be such a curveball. I mean, that's an off-speed pitch if I've ever seen one. Because Democrats never had a clue that he could possibly win Minnesota. Crypto Morpheus! Research Bill Clinton's Chinagate. Yeah. That's true. Crypto Morpheus. There are so many, mini controversies that took place just in addition to so many controversies pertaining to campaign finance that they've always had. Crypto Morpheus, thank you. Crypto Morpheus, thank you so very, very much. Isn't that bad, people? 559 viewers going 2 hours in. We'll keep going a little bit more. Tell your friends, ladies and gentlemen. Tell your friends. If you're in other countries, thank you so very much for listening. I had one pathetic person who tried to make fun of me years back because I was he was basically trying to demean me for thanking my viewers in other countries, and I'm like, what's wrong with that? Why wouldn't you be happy to have viewers in other countries as a YouTuber? This is something that is a good thing. It's a very good thing. I'm very happy that that I have viewers in other countries. I mean, I'm a relatively small channel, so same with H.A. Goodman's other channel. It's even smaller. I'll start ramping things up on that one, but we haven't reached an election season yet. I wonder why. Why do you think we haven't? I think the church later needs to answer that. Why don't we have the feel of an election? Madam Secretary? That's right. Because we really don't have. Do you feel like this is an election? I don't. I mean, I feel the energy building up on the Trump side, just for the palpable fear that Democrats could possibly win, which they can't at this point, because they haven't. They're in a world of hurt because they've spent 4 years talking about Russia, and the average American doesn't care. The people who voted for Clinton, people who are Democrats, they're for their entire lives. Now the only difference is that they despise Trump exponentially more. The people who voted Democrat because they weren't sure about Trump, or the people who were independent who voted Democrat, or the people who were independent who voted Trump, or people who just didn't vote at all, they're voting Trump. They're not like the average American looks and understands what a curfew is. Okay? We are not used to curfews in this country. We are not used to bread lines and food banks. We are not used to seeing police stations set ablaze. We are not used to this. Democrats don't talk about this, but it's difficult to say everything's peaceful when people are losing their lives, and you have curfews, and you have other examples of things taking place that the country isn't used to seeing. Natalie Squarefoot Gardner, just a regular American loving Trump, and the RNC tonight was awesome, especially my girl Kimberly. She rocked the house. Yeah, it was great. The RNC, it was exactly what you needed. It was exactly what you needed. Democrats had to say, how do we explain the country stinks while at the same time saying the country doesn't stink? That's obviously hyperbolic, but it's true. They had so many. The far left thinks now. It's just these are their words. The country has so many horrendous systemic issues, and we're an immoral nation. This is their mentality. They're very proud of it. Okay. You can't really sell a convention on that viewpoint. You can't sell a presidential candidate on that view. And Joe Biden is talking like this. It's like at the end of the day, you're like, oh my God. Natalie. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. All right. Let's just see what else is going on. Natalie, thank you. And you know what's interesting too? Like you're seeing like a grudgingly objective, it's almost bizarre to see articles that are actually somewhat objective. Like They're not the usual, oh my God, the sky is falling and Trump's going to eat you up and spit you out. It's almost bizarre to see this. Because there's a limit. There's really a limit to what you can, to how negative you can be on Trump. I mean, there's just a limit. They can't always blame Trump for everything. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very, very much to my super chat. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin. People, be here for the live streams, especially when Clinton announces, or when they have a meeting and they say, look, we can't go with Biden. It has to be Clinton. Because she's a great human being and she's the best candidate they have by far. She's the only chance they have to win. But be here, though, when we win, when President Trump wins re-election. And it's personal for me, too, because for a number of reasons, it's personal. It's very personal for a number of reasons. President Trump is going to win. And all of those people who tried to insult and demean or judge you, they're going to have to look in the mirror. And they're going to say, there's going to be two types of Democrats on November 3rd when they lose. The person that looks in the mirror and says, oh my God, this is my fault. I helped reelect Trump with my petulance and malice. Or it's going to be the person like, USPS, Putin, Russia, Martians. So stay tuned. But give me your thoughts below. Be here tomorrow night. Everyone, tell your friends. Everywhere, wherever you're watching, tell your friends to be here at 9 p.m. Pacific tomorrow night. Anthony, thank you. Be here 9 p.m. Pacific, everybody, every night. I have the best live stream, political live stream in the evening. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel. If you want to support my voice long term, my Patreon is below. I will be coming out with a website soon, my website, and it's contactgoodman78@gmail.com if you want to be part of a newsletter. Thanks, everybody. God bless. I'll see you tomorrow evening.